So, one of the best pieces of advice that I think I could speak for James and I both, that we received from one of our teachers, who Michael Bernard Beckwith, he talks about the news and particularly these times of the year, right? These seasons of like extra high volume of political stuff, right? A presidential election is a big deal. He really talks about the way you set boundaries with news and information, because when you consume the news, whether it's the radio or it's the television, there are added things that they do, right? So, like, sounds are added in, and visuals are added in, and tone of voice is added in to create a very specific energetic reaction to whoever is listening. And so, one of the things is that if you are going to consume the news through somewhere where you're actually going to be hearing and seeing it, to give yourself a moment to pause before you actually turn it on and recognize that you can set your own filter for what you're receiving, right? Of like, just because there's flashing lights and people yelling doesn't mean I need to consume that energetically. I can create an energetic boundary. And another opportunity is being able to decide, if I feel really overwhelmed when I'm watching the news, what if instead, like, for example, say, this is a part of your job, right, to be informed. So if that's the case, like, what are the boundaries for you of maybe it's I read one outlet a day where I'm deciding the time of day, when I'm ready to consume it, and what outlet I'm going to consume it from, so that it's really a intentional conscious practice versus like I just pick up my phone first thing in the morning and look at the news, which I understand. I definitely am still working on boundaries with myself, particularly with social media in the morning, of like, I don't want that to be the first thing that penetrates my body and my well-being. And so, how can you set the boundaries of the container for which you do it versus being a victim of it? Like, it's everywhere all the time and I have no control. It's like you have more control than you realize. So, I really appreciated that guidance from him. If that would serve anybody here, I hope that you can choose that for yourself.
And the one thing I would add that I think Meredith pretty much like touched on this, but I also the news is meant to get a reaction out of you, right? Like they are trying to stir up all your emotions, and obviously there's lots of different emotions that are being stirred up right now, in all the different ways. So one of the things I find helpful too is not only setting the boundaries of being like, okay, I'm going to look at the news only at these times, but also like making sure like if I need to do some kind of practice, like I don't look at my phone until I meditate, just because I notice when I do it before, like then my brain's just like going too much. So it could be something like if you like even just taking like a minute or two to do like a simple grounding practice before you look at the news, I think is also like I found super helpful too, because like if I'm already in like a very heightened mode, like it doesn't take very much for me to get triggered by something I see. And I know I've had to set a lot of boundaries with Mary Beth because I've like started to see things and I'm like, oh my gosh, did you see this? Did you see this? And it's like, and I just was like looking over it and I was like, nope, I need better boundaries with this. So I would definitely recommend having some kind of practice around the news.